Hey everybody, Karaoke here. We're going to be talking about gearing out your first class for dungeons today. There's a couple notes before we start because I think some of these things might be a little bit controversial. The first important thing here is that we're going to be talking about power builds, not condition builds. And I do strongly recommend going with a power build as you're starting to learn your class in dungeons, not a condition build. There's a bunch of reasons for that, but primarily the good gear for doing condition damage is a lot less accessible than the good gear for doing power damage. So if you're trying to gear your first class, you may find it considerably easier on power DPS. Now, if you're far enough along in your Guild Wars time that you know you can get the good condition damage gear, which would be either Sinister or Vipers, then by all means go ahead, get that gear and use it and ignore my advice. But for a lot of players, I think you're going to be better off starting with power DPS. Second note, I strongly believe that the better of a player you are, the less your gear matters. However, this guide is meant for players who are a good bit newer, so I'm going in with the assumption that gear is going to be relatively important and that it's going to help you make up any deficiencies you might have in your play by gearing yourself well. Absolutely, pro-level players aren't going to have to follow all of these rules and they're going to be able to get around things. So this advice is meant for people who really are starting out, and keep that in mind as we talk about everything. I think the minimum starting point you should have for dungeons is level 80 rares, and if you look in the background, you can see me buying those for a character. Now, if you have something better than those level 80 rares, feel free to wear it, but do make sure that the stats are appropriate. If you're on a power build and you have some condition damage exotics, in general, I think you're going to be better off using the appropriate Berserker's gear, which is going to be pretty constant for just about every power build out there, rather than using those condition damage exotics, which are going to give you the wrong stats. Now, the goal of dungeons is going to be to get additional gear, but level 80 rares should be a good place to start. Now, if you do want to splurge, there's a couple good ways to do so. If you have been doing guild missions with your guild, you'll have guild commendations, which you can use to buy ascended accessories. They're not cheap. They're 12 commendations, which is the guild mission currency, plus 5 gold each. So 10 gold might seem like a lot for you now, but those are really, really good stats that you can go and buy. See me doing that in the background, and I think it's well worth spending the money on them if you have the commendations. The other thing to consider is if you've been logging in every day and getting laurels, you can use those laurels to get an ascended amulet. Again, you want Berserker stats. There are a whole lot of stats on that ascended amulet, and ascended gear is switchable between characters, so if you buy it for one, you can always use it on others. If we think about a shopping list, you're going to need 6 pieces of level 80 rare Berserker gear at about 40 silver a piece. You're going to want weapons, which the number of weapons might vary, but you're probably in the range of like 3 weapons. Again, level 80 rare Berserker gear. Those are also going to be about 40, 50 silver. And then if you can afford the different accessories, you want to go and get the best accessories you can. Usually this is going to be either rares or ascended because the price for exotics is relatively high. We'll talk about this more in another video. Add it all up, and I think even if you're going to be getting some of the ascended gear like the accessories, you're looking at maybe 15 gold max to get all the stuff you need. That'll get you started, and then you'll be able to buy better stuff with dungeon tokens very quickly. So for your homework, go ahead and start getting that rare gear you need, and we'll come back, and tomorrow we're going to talk about runes and sigils for your gear, including some budget options. And then in the next video after that on Friday, we're going to talk about the consumables you might want to use to make up some of the gaps in your gear that you currently have. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.